Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman. Our next guest up is Corey Morris, founder and CEO of Voltage. Welcome to Radio Entrepreneurs.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
A pleasure to have you on. I know before we started taping, we talked a little bit about your background, but why don't you give our listeners the benefit, tell them a little bit about Voltage, about your background, what it is you guys do.
Yeah, so Voltage is a digital agency focused on search marketing and building websites for a wide range of clients across different industries, but with a common theme of wanting to generate accountable and greater ROI connected to that, not just doing a set of activities or things like that. So my journey is maybe a little bit interesting. I was an employee of a couple of different marketing agencies and was an employee actually here at Voltage initially, and came in 2013 to start the digital marketing team as we were evolving from a creative agency and doing websites to where we are today, with the focus I just mentioned. But I went through a few years ago a succession plan with one of the original co-founders, spun up my own LLC and became an entrepreneur that way. And then fast forward, we could talk in a moment about some of the other cool things I've done as I start a second business and all the things that go with that.
So serial entrepreneur and really a great opportunity. You don't hear all that much about employee acquiring existing entities. So why don't we talk a little bit about the world of digital marketing, and over the 20 years that you've spent in it, you've probably seen a wholesale shift, multiple shifts in terms of how digital marketing is happening. And at Radio Entrepreneurs, we're all about imparting wisdom on entrepreneurs. What should people be looking for? What should they be doing in terms of a digital strategy, etc. High level. I know you can't do it in 30 seconds or less. So,
Yeah, I had the opportunity of learning some HTML and things early on before the explosion of WordPress and things being easier to self-implement. Um, what's interesting as I've then moved into SEO, and that was my focus for a long time, is how the constant has changed, right? And so while we've had some big monumental things happen in the digital marketing world over the years, AI has become the biggest disruptor we've seen. And so what's critical, and in fact, it's so critical, I wrote a book on it that was published last year, is having a plan and having a an anchor point with ROI or whatever matters the most to you, and be able to work backwards off of that and forwards and backwards really through your plan over time. And so that's what's really critical. I see lots of checklists of best practices, or we're posting 5 times a week because somebody said we should, or we've always done it that way. But a lot of activity that just goes out there and we don't know if it's working or not, or we're doing it because it's just part of the routine or part of our marketing plan or part of our content plan, or somebody at a conference said we should do this one thing, without conviction and confidence and a connection to deeper business outcomes connected to it. So that's really the mission I'm on, and really our focus, because there's just so much, so much changing that it's hard to keep up with it, especially if we don't have it anchored to something.
that anchor or focal point being an important element, and that can be any one of a number of metrics, I guess, in essence, that you would deem important for your particular business.
Yeah, so that's really the framework I unpack in doing the planning is called START. It's an acronym, but it starts with strategy. In the last phase of the strategy process, after understanding really what your brand message is and where you're going and what differentiates you, which most businesses understand, but putting all that together and understanding how does this impact the business overall, and not just a bunch of marketing metrics that we leave a gap of somebody having to connect the dots on. So whether that's driving top line revenue, okay, or gross profit, or even net profit, how do we back out of that into getting that connected to a marketing KPI? And so whether that we're an e-commerce company, whether we're a service company and we're trying to drive leads, whether we're just looking for engagement with our content, we have an advertising model or something, there's some revenue driver there that we can back off of and find that digital or online touch point to connect to and draw those lines again. So it's not just views and how many people are coming to our site or how many clicks or even how many conversions, but it's how much does that connect to ultimately driving whatever our bottom line is.
So what have you talked about AI being a significant disruptor, and that I think we're really literally at the head of that monster. There's probably a lot more to come. What do you see for small and mid-sized businesses needing to focus on, needing to create their priorities around their digital marketing? Besides knowing that link between the results that you're getting and how it's impacting your business or, driving your strategy. But what other types of elements should people be looking for? Should businesses be looking at in terms of their SEO strategy?
Yeah, in terms of their strategy today, a lot of the things that still today, as we continue to move through the progression of it taking over different aspects, continue doing the good things for SEO that you're doing today, but don't ignore your brand. Some of the things that some of the research and data I'm seeing from colleagues shows that PR maybe coming back in a big
Hmm.
way, because a lot of getting your brand understood, not just by a search engine, but by an AI, LLM or different search features within that, as people are getting more going to get more fragmented in how they look for information. That will be important. So there are AI pieces built into a lot of different software, a lot of different functions, a lot of day-to-day lives. This kind of started with smart speakers years ago, and you'd wonder maybe where that information was coming from, but now we're at a point where the positive of all this is that we're not as beholden to Google and one entity. But the challenge is that we have to, in a more fragmented space, understand where our customer is and how to be found in a lot of other places. So, again, I would double down on making sure that you're able to be found in Google today, and ensuring that your brand is understood for its differentiating selling points, to your target audience, and understand how that might be in a non-traditional place like ChatGPT instead of just Google.
And how does that carry over and I guess intersect with? I know you're focused on SEO, web presence, etc. But what about social? Since social seems to be coming at us from all sides, and what's hot one month or year is not hot the next, and there's been a lot of movement in different directions, a lot of new social channels coming on board, etc. So how does a company with limited resources, time, capability make the determination of where, when, etc.?
Yeah, there's two key points here. One is to not just rely on, maybe traditionally we've had some personas and we have three or five different target segments of our audience that we understand, and we understand them well. It's not just enough to know who your audience is, but going back to my answer a minute ago, it's really where they are and how that might be shifting or evolving like weekly or daily with all the things that are happening in our world. And so understanding where they are, some of that's looking at your analytics reports and understanding that, but a lot of it is understanding and going across the line of just their personas and their categories of people on paper, but really getting into what you can get in terms of feedback of how they found you, what they're and even dialing into what questions were they asking and how did they go down this customer journey to find you, because it may not be as linear as it was 5 or 10 years ago. On the other side of it, it's
Nothing
important.
seems nothing seems linear anymore, Corey. Everything's a bouncy,
Well,
I
and
feel
it
like we've all
probably
got
never,
extreme ADHD.
yeah, it probably never was linear, but it was easier for us to think of it that way and put people into funnels and tell them where to go. Right now, their opportunities are emerging for them to go find us in a really way out in left field way, and not assuming that they're just going to come in that way and the way we want them to, and to move on from that.
Good stuff. Corey, if people want to reach out to you, want to learn more about Voltage, want to engage with you, want to start a campaign, and maybe I should ask that question first. What does a typical campaign look like? Is there a structure to a typical campaign, a time frame? Is it a project based? How do you guys work? Is it retainer based? Do you work for a longer period of time? How do your projects typically work with companies?
Yeah, our ideal starting point for any client is to go through that initial 90-day process, that the start planning process that we unpack in the digital marketing success plan. That helps us go evaluate any and all channels, connect everything to goals, and understand and build collectively together the marketing plan that. And so that's an initial investment. And then from there, then we can build the plan of who's implementing what, whether it's on the client side, if we're assisting them on an ongoing basis in a retainer, or a mix of both. So that's where we self-implement it, but I encourage anybody to pick up the book on Amazon. You can find, it's called the Digital Marketing Success Plan. That's a long name, so I've shortened the domain to the dmsp.com. And I've got some free resources there, and ways to dig into that process further, or link over to Amazon to pick up the book. That's kind of the first step to check out the framework and see if you want to self-implement. If you get into it, you can reach out to us there, or you can reach out to us at voltage.digital as well. We'll be happy to talk through it and see how we might be able to come alongside as well.
Fantastic. Our guest has been Corey Morris, founder and CEO of Voltage. It's been a pleasure having you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thanks. Likewise.
And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.